Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien here with more advice for magicians. However, this time we're going to try something a little bit different. I'm actually going to go ahead and hop on a live Skype call with one of my fans, one of my supporters. They have a ton of questions for me. We're going to try to answer a few of them. I decided to go ahead and record this session because I wanted to test out this new platform where I will be taking live calls from you guys who have any questions for me and try to have you featured on my channel. So if you really like this format and you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and let me know. Before we get to the Skype call, I do have a couple of announcements. Number one, for those of you who have not heard, I've actually been in the process of writing a new book. The new book is going to be called How to Magish, the Beginner's Guide to Becoming a Professional Magician. So if you really enjoy a lot of these advice for magicians and how-to style videos, you might want to go ahead and pick up a copy of this book. Over 80 pages of me basically giving advice on how to improve your magic, market yourself as a professional so that you can get more leads and get your name out there, and then finally book gigs so that you can actually start making money doing magic. This will go on pre-sale starting July 1st. So go ahead and head over to OBrienMagic.com/howtomagish so you can read all about it. And then, like I said, these will go on pre-sale starting July 1st. So you're going to want to go ahead and get a copy of this because anyone who signs up for the pre-sale will not only get a copy of the actual book, but you will also get free access to all of the audio files of the book recorded by yours truly. So it's going to be like a $25 value for only $15 because if you get the book, you're going to get the audio files for free. So just take a look at that. Secondly, I went ahead and launched a Patreon campaign. For those of you who are not familiar with this is a platform where artists can share their work with all of you. And then in turn, if you really enjoy the content, you are welcome to offer support to help creators and artists like myself to keep on doing what we do. In addition to any exclusive content on my Patreon account, I will also be offering full access to my Tour de Force, the Complete Edition DVD. For those of you who are not familiar with this DVD, this is my In the Hands Triumph Effect. It's gotten high praise from several of the industry's top leaders, including even the CEO of Theory 11, who says it's a beautiful plot in magic, and this is a very beautiful, simple handling of that effect. So I highly suggest you take a look. I'll go ahead and leave links in the description for both How to Magish and Tour de Force. But you can gain access to not only the Tour de Force DVD, but also exclusive content that I'm not posting anywhere else, simply by signing up to Patreon and donating $1 a month. For just $1 a month, you're going to have access to all of this stuff. On top of that, I'm also going to be offering monthly raffles for decks of cards, official products, things like that. So you have a chance to actually win prizes as well. So if you would like to support my work, if you really enjoy this content, you want to see me keep putting out new stuff, I highly suggest you take a look at my Patreon account. That is OBrienMagic.com/Patreon. All right, so we got all of the announcements out of the way. Why don't you say we go ahead and jump on to the Skype call. This week for our first live Skype call, we have my good friend Graham coming all the way from the great country of Ireland. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Very much for having me, Michael. Absolutely here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. All right, so you had a few questions for me, but before we get into that, why don't you give a little background on yourself? So you've recently just, if I'm not misunderstanding, you just had your first gig. Is this true?
Yeah, basically second. Where I performed was my second time performing there. So basically, I'm a complete newbie. I've been practicing magic with a good few years, more than what I would want to say. But my nerves get to me of performing to the public, and time has just gone on and on. But I really want to step up and get out there and perform. Once I seen you doing it, it really put it in perspective what I really want to do. and I just want to get out there. I need to get out there. I have to.
That sounds really awesome. First of all, thank you so much for putting yourself out there and actually going for it. That was something that for me was a step that I had to take, where at first I was doing magic for my friends and doing magic for my coworkers and stuff like that. And just recently, actually, about, I don't know, 9, 10 months ago or so, I actually quit my job, 100% doing magic full time to support my family, to support my new daughter, pay all my bills and all that stuff. It can be a little nerve wracking at first, but the first step is just getting out there, doing that first gig, putting yourself out there, and then, I'm assuming you had a pretty good experience. Is this right?
Toward I'm after performing to the public 2 times or walking in as a magician. Like, the other times is the family, etc. like that. But I went to the person at the daycare center and introduced myself as a magician. I've been practicing for so many years, but I'm quite new to performing to the public. So I asked him, would it be possible if I could come up and train the people at the daycare center? And she was very kind. She let me do that. And that yesterday or 2 days ago was my second time around. The other one was about a couple of weeks prior to that. But still, like I said, I'm still quite new to it, but I'm still trying to find myself, find character and the experience most of all, so I can kind of craft magic and make it a higher level of better magic, so I can actually start performing as a working magician, I'm going to say.
Well, that's good. So it sounds like you're on the right track, because for me, the way that I practice and what I found works best is you want to break it up into 3 parts. Part number 1, you want to focus on the individual techniques. So the actual sleight of hand itself. Once you've mastered that sleight of hand, you can start putting together your actual routine. And the second part is once you've actually built the routine itself, you're going to want to run the routine all the way through from start to finish. And that includes the pattern, the scripting, everything. Once you can perform it from start to finish, you want to jump into step number 3. Step number 3 is to actually go out into the live public and start performing it for them. It sounds like that's what you're doing, and that's awesome. Keep doing that, because I heard you mention that you're trying to discover yourself and discover your character. That's not necessarily something that you're just going to, you can sit down and a pen and paper all day and write it, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I didn't discover my character until like 5 or 6 years after I've been doing magic.
Oh, wow.
And one of the biggest advices that I can give to anybody is try not to copy anyone else. Just try to be yourself. Be yourself, and you will find what comes most natural to you. So, for example, if you watch any of my work, which I know you have, you've seen a lot of my videos, but for you guys, if you haven't seen any of my work, watch just like my SpongeBob video. Right off the bat, just by watching my SpongeBob video, you're going to know a little bit about my personality. I have a dry sense of humor. I'm kind of silly, very lighthearted, and I have a real passion for what I do. And so you're going to really learn to discover your own character as you perform more. Your scripting will sound less robotic. It'll sound more organic. It's just going to come with repetition over and over and over again. So don't give up on that. Even if you're not getting good reactions at first, don't get discouraged, because nobody's going to get the best reactions at first. And you're going to get caught. People are going to say, oh, I saw that. People are going to try to call you out on what you did. All of this is a learning experience that over time you're going to learn how to deal with those kinds of situations, and you're going to learn how to build up your character, and eventually it's going to become something that you didn't even think was you. Perfect example of this is David Williamson. Have you ever heard of David Williamson?
Yes, yeah.
His character in the beginning was a very dry, sort of, kind of funny and silly, but not the over the top character that he is now. If you've seen any of David Williamson's work, he is like over the top. And he said that he had to actually kind of step into that because he decided, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And he did that, and it stuck because it got really good reactions, and he felt very confident, very comfortable in that character. And I think that's what you need to do. You know, you just need to go out there, perform, get more confidence, get more comfortable, and just try new things. And my last piece of advice on that is listen to your audience.
Yeah.
For a couple of things. Number one, if they say that they saw something, it means that maybe your angles are a little bit off. Maybe you kind of tilted your hands down too far, or maybe they got like a side angle and they saw something they shouldn't have seen, something like that. So listen to your audience there. But also listen to some of the things that they say. Some of the best lines in my act are things that my audience has said. For example, I do a bit with the Chinese rings where I link the Chinese ring onto my wedding band, right? And I hand out the ring for examination, and I ask, do you see any soft spots? And one of my spectators said, there's only one soft spot, in your heart. And I thought that was super fun, you know, and everyone in the audience was like, "Oh," and it was cute. I actually use that every single time now, and it gets that same "oh" reaction, which is what I really want.
Yeah.
And again, it adds to my character because my character is kind of like this cheesy, you know, very dry, kind of silly character, and so it makes it, you know, it adds to it. And then not too long ago, I was doing an event where I was doing like strolling magic for like a bunch of kids, and I have this effect with a deck of cards where I actually pull the signature off of the deck. It's called Ambitious Ink. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you take a look. But there's a line in there where I tell them, you know, hold on to your name, make sure you don't drop it. And one of the other spectators said, yeah, no one likes a name dropper. And I thought that was hilarious, and now I actually use that line.
Yeah,
in my act. You know, no one likes a name dropper, and it gets a laugh, and it's fun. But moral of the story is keep doing what you're doing because you're doing great. Keep practicing, working on your technique at home. If you're not already recording yourself, I suggest you do so that you can watch it back yourself. And if possible, if you have a friend or a family member that can record you when you're actually, like, let's just say you're out to dinner and you see a couple on a date or something, and you have a deck of cards, and they might ask you if you can show them a magic trick, or maybe you might even be able, you know, to say, like, hey, I noticed you guys are, you know, on this date. Would you like to see something just real quick, a magic trick or something like that, right? And then have your friend record it so that you can watch back the video and see any mistakes that you made. Maybe you're stuttering in certain parts of the script, or you're not making eye contact, you know, you're just looking at the cards too much. Anything like that. So, again, keep doing what you're doing. I want to try to do a question and answer segment at this point, though, and I want to answer as many of your questions as I can. So, please, let me know what kinds of questions do you have for me?
Yeah, I have a few now. Just trying to see if you have covered quite a bit now. Like, I mean, if you had a chance to go back in time to tell your younger self, starting off as a work magician, what would be one of the top pieces of advice you could give yourself, or one method, or one way of, one route that I should take that maybe you didn't? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so if I could go back in time and tell my younger self one really good important piece of advice that I now know that I wish I would have known back then. There is a lot of things I could say. One of the biggest ones is one thing that I've learned over time. Like, for those of you who are familiar with my work, I have a lot of content out right now. I have a DVD. I have, you know, this book, this DVD. I have a couple of other books on the market right now. I was able to put all of that stuff out because I surround myself with amazing people. This DVD, Tour de Force, it was self-published, 100% for free. And the reason for that was because some of my very closest friends in magic came together and they wanted to help me put out this content. Now, why am I saying this? The reason I'm telling you this is because I really feel like one of the biggest things that you can do as a performer is give to the community. Okay? A lot of times people think like, oh, I want to do magic because I want to be more popular, or I want to do magic because, you know, I want more followers on Instagram, or I want to do magic because I want to make more money, right? And yeah, those things are good, but if you give back to the community, like go into the mindset of I'm going to give, you're going to receive a lot more. And I surround myself with really awesome people. You know, I'm always trying my best to give back to the magic community, which again, I like to thank people like you who do support my work. And I'm really glad to hear that you are getting a lot of use out of my my YouTube channel and my advice videos and stuff. And I'm going to try to, I'm going to do my best to keep putting out these videos because I know that you guys really like it. But do your best to focus on, you know, the world around you, not so much yourself. Let me give you an example. When I first started doing magic, it was more about, look at how cool I am. Look at how much practice I've put into this. You know, I'm going to make this card change, and it's really cool because I'm making this card change. You know, more recently, I've started putting the focus more on others, where it's not so much about what I am going to do, but it's more about what they are going to experience.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, my sponge ball routine. It's not about, look, I can make these balls vanish and reappear other places and stuff like that. It's, you can do it too. In fact, here, let me go ahead and hand it to you. I do the magic and I actually take a step back. Like I actually walk out of the group and I want everyone to be focusing on that person holding the balls with their face all lit up with a big smile and stuff like that. That's something that I didn't have at the beginning. And now I do have that. And the reactions are even bigger. People love the magic even more. So when it comes to performing for your actual audience, I really think that you need to put them first. But then also networking with your fellow magicians, and even people that aren't in the magic community necessarily. Like if you have any friends that are in the photography business, or anyone that you know that might own a restaurant, anything like that, do what you can, the best you can, to give back to the community. And you're going to see yourself start to grow even more, because now you have people that want to build you up and that want to help you. Moral of the story is, don't try to do this on your own, you know. Give back to the community, and you're going to have a lot of these people that are really going to want to help you succeed. And over the last probably 2 years, I would say, the last 2 years of my career have been, I've had more stuff happen in the last 2 years than I've had in the last, 8 years before that I've been doing professional magic. And the reason for that is because I've really started surrounding myself with all these amazing people. I mean, it doesn't hurt too that I have an extremely supportive wife that like actually loves that I, love that I'm very passionate about this and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers that question a little bit, because that really is something.
It does,
that
absolutely.
I really do feel that that's something that a lot of people don't consider, and I didn't think about it even at first myself.
No, like I've seen, this is one of the great benefits of watching your stuff. Like, of course, it's not about what I can do. It's about giving the spectators an experience that they won't experience anywhere else. And I was just doing a career guidance there recently, and it's pretty much what you're saying. It's about finding out who's in your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Expanding that. And the more you give, you will receive back. So I totally understand of that whole giving and getting back and growing.
Yep.
So what I wanted to ask you, how long were you practicing until you actually became being a working magician now? About 10 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
To the point, how much did you have your magic practice until before you got your first gig, paid gig.
Okay,
or sorry, did you do a lot of gigs that were for experience before you started out as a working magician?
Okay, so there's a two-part question there. So just to clarify, part one, how long did you actually practice before you felt that you were comfortable to go out and start performing, like actually as a worker? And then part two, when you actually did start performing as a worker, how did you go about booking these gigs? Like, I know that you actually reached out to me on Instagram not too long ago, which is where we started communicating. Asking about, for like my first few gigs, what do I charge? Like, do I just come out the gate and charge $300 an hour because I know that's what like other professionals in my field might be charging, but at the same time I feel like I'm not worth that because I'm new. So there's a lot of things to talk about. For me, I've been doing magic ever since I was a kid, like 8 years old ish. But I didn't really start getting passionate about it as something I could really do until my senior year in high school. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into this whole story, but for those of you who have not heard this story, I suggest you go ahead and check out my KTLA interview that I did on their Spoken Dreams podcast. I'll put a link in the description for that as well if you guys are curious to hear my story. But I have been doing magic most of my life. As a hobby, as a hobbyist, doing it just for fun. My first job out of high school was I actually started performing at a magic shop, the Magic Shop on Main Street at Disneyland, actually, in Anaheim, and did that for about 2 years, and that's when it really felt like, okay, I'm ready to actually start doing this for money. Now, for me, it was very easy to transition because I was already performing on a daily basis, 8 hours a day, every single day, Monday through Friday, to the general public, thousands of people coming through, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So it was very, very easy for me to be able to transition. For someone that didn't have that opportunity, I would suggest that you do, like I said, go out and just perform for as many different people as you can. Even if you, let's just say you have a mate that owns a pub, or an owner of a pub, just walk in and say, do you mind if I just hang out for 2 hours? I'm working on new material. I'm not going to charge you anything. In fact, any tips that I receive, I'll go ahead and make sure that I tip the servers and tip the bartenders out. That way they don't feel like I'm there intruding on their business or anything like that. And that way it gives you free access to test out material that you're working on to a live general public, people that you don't know, because it's good to perform for your friends and your family, but you really need to break out of that nervous kind of like, I don't know how to approach people and stuff. Just by going out and doing it, you're going to get better at it. So that's what I suggest for getting started. Now let's just say you have a client contact you because they are interested in actually booking you. And this is like let's just say for the sake of example, this is your first gig ever. You've never gotten paid to do magic ever. There's two ways you can do it. You can either charge them what you think you would charge them if you were a full-time professional. So for example, I started off charging about $150 per hour. Now obviously that's US currency. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys like on the British pound over there?
Euro.
And on the euro. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know the exact
it'd be around it anyway.
Yeah. And so and that's relatively low in the United States for an hour of magic, to be honest with you. Right now I'm charging a little bit more than that. But you can either charge them the rate that you think that you're going to be worth, and do a few gigs like that to kind of test the waters to see like, oh, no one wants to book me because I'm charging too less, or maybe every single client wants to book you, and so oh, maybe I'm not charging enough, maybe I need to raise it. That's kind of how I started off, because like I said, I already kind of had that experience with working at the magic shop, so it was easy for me to transition. But the second way that you can go about doing it is by being honest and upfront with the person that's hiring you and telling them that you are not a working professional, but you are actually training to become one. And since you are still working to get there, you can offer your services at a discounted rate, as long as they're aware that, this isn't the standard rate. This is just the special rate that you're giving them because you're still learning. One of the worst things that you can do in the magic community is undercharge. And the reason for that is because it's going to both make the art seem less valuable than it is. If every magician was just charging $20, $30 an hour for a gig, that would make magic just, like not even worth anything. But the other reason is because other performers that are full-time professionals that are trying to make a living doing this, they're going to see that as you trying to take their work away. It's like the Walmart thing, where all these businesses are trying to sell their stuff, and then Walmart comes in and then they have half the prices and everyone goes to Walmart, and now all these small businesses, they feel like they're getting, their customers taken away. It's the same thing in the magic community, so you need to be very careful with that. I suggest that you research, find out what other performers in your area are charging, and try to calculate what you want to charge based on that, as well as, like I said, you're going to have to do some testing and some adjusting. This isn't necessarily going to be your rate forever. You're going to say, maybe I want to try for $150, and I'm noticing that no one wants to book me in this area. Maybe $150 might be a little high. Maybe I need to lower it. Or maybe I'm not charging enough. Maybe I should be charging $200 an hour instead. So that's. Happened to you recently. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Happened to you recently, didn't it? About your birthday party. You were saying that you had it, I believe, too low, and when you raised it up, you started getting more bookings.
Yes, that's another thing. That's very true. Sometimes if you lower your rates too much, people won't hire you. Like, let's just say I wanted to put new brakes on my car, right? I drive a Mini Cooper, so I have to, obviously it's a European model car, I have to have very certain brakes put on the car. Now I can have that $1,500 set of brakes put on the car that I know is going to last a while, I know it's going to be proper, or I can go to, Joe's garage and have him put a $150 set of brakes on the car. Yeah, I'm saving a ton of money, but is the car going to break down in a couple months? Are there going to be problems? I could potentially get into an accident. So the risk versus the savings, it doesn't quite balance. And a lot of clients might see that as the same thing. I would rather spend $500 at my wedding, knowing that this is a professional that's been doing this for a long time, than to spend $50 on some kid that just has a deck of cards that might, ruin my wedding. I don't want my wedding ruined. I don't want my birthday party ruined. I want my guests to be happy. I want my clients to be happy. So if you undersell yourself, it might be the exact opposite effect. They might not book you because you're too low. So like I said, it's one of those things where you're going to kind of have to try it. But that's my advice for actually getting out and getting started. To quote someone who I really have started really admiring his work a lot. For those of you who have never heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, I really suggest you take a look. He's actually a entrepreneur who got started in the wine business, so nothing to do with magic. But he's very motivational in the sense that he is all about getting started and doing things, so like you can sit here and you can plan for years how you're going to start, getting your magic business going, how you're going to do this trick, and how you're going to start working these gigs, but you're not going to do it until you do it. So that's one of the biggest things that, for anyone that's new, that I can say is go out there. The worst that can happen is you make a mistake, and then now you learn from it, and now you know not to make that mistake again, and you make adjustments, whether it be to your performance or how you handled the gig, how you handled the client, how much money you charged, anything like that.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense, and that's exactly what I've been doing. Unfortunately, it's just dwelling on everything and not getting out there. But I'm happy with myself that I did get out there. I did get a taste of what it's like performing to do the public, and I'm hoping to keep on doing it. I'm definitely going to take your advice of going out and asking a manager in a local pub or in the city. See, can I go around for an hour or two and perform to real strangers, and that'll help me craft my magic better.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is it's a mutual transaction, because the pub owner is getting free entertainment for their clients, for their guests, right? And you are getting basically a free space to not only practice, but also, if you haven't already, you should have your website and business cards ready to go, so that, you know, if they enjoyed your work, you can say, if you really enjoyed this and you want to see more, here's my business card. You can actually have me do this at your own house, or at your own birthday party, or for your wedding, you know. One thing that I've learned too is never leave the house without business cards, because someone might see what you do and they might love it, and they might want to see more. And what you've just done is you've just generated a potential lead, as we call it in the industry, meaning someone that might want to hire you and give you money for your services. So if they can't contact you, then you lost the lead, right? So if you have not already created a website, I would highly suggest you do that. There's a ton of website editors out there that you can use that are 100% free. Like, for example, I use Weebly. All you have to pay is for the domain, so like the actual name itself. Like, for example, I pay, I think it's like $30 a year to have OBrienMagic.com. $30.
That's very
really reasonable. And then the entire website itself is created 100% for free using a website editor. And it's really easy. It's click and drag. You click on the thing you want, you type in what you want. You want to grab an image, you put the image there. I want to grab a graph, you grab a graph and put it there. You know, for my blog, for example, they have a whole platform that supports blogs, so you can just put blog entries in and all that stuff. Really easy. You can drop YouTube videos in there, so you can have videos on your website and stuff just streaming straight from YouTube. So highly suggest you get a website if you haven't already. Plus, it legitimizes you. It makes you... It's that transition, at least in the public eye, it's that transition from amateur to professional. Whoa, you have a website? Wow, that's cool. That's so cool that you have a website. Like, I've heard that so many times. Oh, that's so cool. You have a business card. Like, a lot of people don't even expect that. Because, you know, you're just doing magic tricks. They don't even think right off the bat, like, oh, this is like his job. And then you tell them, yeah, this is my job. And they think that's really cool. And then it makes you seem more legitimate, more professional. And then it's going to encourage them to want to hire you more. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's really important. Make sure you have everything lined up. And then just go out and start doing it. But even if you don't have a website yet, that doesn't mean you should stop going out and performing. You should still be out. Try to go every day if you can. Obviously, that may not be realistic if you're working your job. But maybe even for a couple hours after work, or at the very least, try to go on the days that you're off and try to show magic to someone new.
Yes.
Either on the street or in a restaurant, or like I said, hit up the local pub maybe and see if you can get in there.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely do it about the pub, I suppose. Approaching people on the streets, that'll be something I'll have to get used to. But absolutely, I'm going to go to the local bars and the pubs, and I'm definitely going to take your advice on that. That's really great. I'll go up to the manager first rather than walking in and just performing to the people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And about, I think I wanted to ask you something about the photos for the website. That's another thing as well why I didn't put up a website yet. As I kind of feel like I kind of have to have some type of professional photos up as well, which haven't been a performance, so I don't have them type of photos.
Of course.
But have you designed your own website yourself?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything on my website I made myself. Let me talk about photos for a second, because it's actually really important that you brought that up. There's a couple things I want to mention about photos. Number one, yes, you do want high quality photos, but they don't necessarily have to be like filmed on a professional camera. I mean, iPhones even these days. I have the iPhone 7, which is the newest one that just came out, and it takes photos that rival like the expensive Nikon cameras, especially with like different filters and editors that even come in the phone already. You can do some really cool stuff. Like, I mean, I shoot all my videos on my iPhone, and it looks really high quality. So you don't necessarily have to have a professional photographer take your photos. But again, going back to what I said at the beginning, all of those professional photos that I've had done were done by people that I know that are in the photography business that wanted to do that service for me because I had given so much to them. Either I entertained them with my magic, or I offered advice, or I sent them gigs. For example, one of my really good friends, Andrew, him and his wife, Crystal, they own a company called Themed Shots, where they specialize in photography for anime and like cosplay conventions. They do weddings and stuff like that. And they actually went ahead and did all of my photography for like a full photo session for me. Not only for my magic, but also for my cosplay, because I do like a Star Wars, for any of you guys that have heard of the 501st Legion, I do a Star Wars cosplay as well. But they went ahead and they did all of that for me, and they didn't charge me for it. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go out and start asking people to take photos of you for free, but again, going back to what I said earlier, if you give and give and give, you're going to have these people, you surround yourself with these people, and they're going to be like, hey, why don't we go to the pub? You do some magic, and I'll bring my camera. We can get some really cool shots of you for your website. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's just going to happen. And the reason for that is because you've given so much back that they don't mind doing that thing for you, for free. Again, to quote Gary Vaynerchuk, which I really suggest you take a look at his stuff, because he's very inspirational, very motivational. He talks about this concept of jab, 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 right hook. Like if you've ever seen professional boxing, they don't go for the knockout right away. You got to get a couple of these in first, and then you can go for the knockout punch. The concept of jab, 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 right hook means you're going to give, then you can take, right? A lot of people, they want to go out and they want to be like, asking all these people to do stuff for them for free. And it's not necessarily going to work out if you do that. Just like, you're a professional magician and someone wants to hire you, but they're like, there's no budget. We just want you to come do magic for the kids for an hour, but we're not going to pay you. You're going to feel like, well, why should I do that? But if, let's just say one of your friends or family members, they're doing you a little favor here, doing you a little favor there, and then they say, hey, my son's birthday is coming up, would you mind coming and doing magic? You're probably going to go do it for free because you don't mind, because they've been helping you, right? It's that same idea.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when it comes to the photography itself, professional quality photos are not that hard to achieve using like an iPhone or just having a friend take the photos for you. Now, if you can't afford to hire a professional, I suggest you do that, because you're going to have some really good high quality photos, And again, you're going to get your money's worth because you're going to pay more money and you're going to get a higher quality product. But also a lot of, I call them candid shots, or photos where you're in the middle of a routine performing, especially things that highlight the spectator. That's very important. One thing that I've really started doing, especially because I market on Craigslist and Yelp and platforms like Gig Salad and Gig Masters and all these platforms, I've stopped putting headshots as the focus, and I've actually started putting like my candid shots where like a spectator's like, oh my god, or like they're smiling or laughing and having a good time, because it's going to show your clients that you aren't just thinking about how cool you are, but you're actually thinking about the experience that they're going to have. So as you can see, like the conversations that I started having with at the beginning, like this is something that I'm living constantly now. All these things are coming around and around over and over and over again. And these really are things I wish I would have thought about when I was starting off, because now that I'm doing these things, I'm getting a lot more attention from the public eye. I'm getting more attention from my fellow magicians, and it's just good business because, like if you're going to try to buy a car, the car salesman isn't trying to sell you on how good of a salesman they are. They're trying to sell you on how good the car is for you. So that's kind of the same, idea for when it comes to being a magician. You don't want to necessarily sell them on how cool you are or how good of a magician you are. You want to sell them on how good of an experience their guests are going to get, how happy they're going to be, how much fun everything is going to be at their event, how easy it's going to be for the client, because like let's just say it's my wedding and I want my guests to be entertained. I don't want to be stressing out about whether or not my guests are going to be entertained. I want to know that I'm hiring someone that can entertain my guests, and I can go off and be with my wife and enjoy my wedding and focus on me, and then not have to worry about my guests. Like that's really what people are looking for when they're looking for entertainment.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very important. Like I said, surround yourself with people that are going to build you up, and give. I can't stress that enough, because you will see you give more, and then eventually you're going to start receiving things in return.
Yeah. I was recently asking you on about Instagram, can I advertise myself as just Strolling Magic? You can probably remember that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I was asking that is because if someone wanted to hire me for a show, 30-minute show, I feel that I wouldn't be able to put together a show as of right now, because I don't have so much experience. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, 100%. I did not do children's birthday parties for the longest time. Not because I don't like kids, but just because I didn't have a set that I think kids would like. Because I'm not a children's magician. I perform at weddings and corporate functions and fundraisers and holiday parties and all this stuff, right? But probably, 3 years ago, I started doing kids shows just because I was able to finally put an act together that would be good for kids. If you don't feel like you have a full 30-minute piece of magic that you can perform as an actual show, that's totally fine. You don't need to have that yet. Eventually, you'll get there. Focus on... I think for someone that's beginning, I would say focus on the actual performance and the interactions that you're having with people. So Strolling Magic is a great way to do that, because it's going to teach you how to approach people. It's going to teach you how to interact with people. And for me, when I do my strolling gigs, I just do the same 3 tricks all night. Like a lot of magicians will think that, I have to come loaded with my pockets and I have to have, 20 tricks prepared. No. I do sponge balls, Chinese linking rings, and a card trick all night. And I keep a deck of cards with me just in case maybe someone already saw my performance but they wanted to see more. I can do a couple more card tricks for them. But you really only need like 5 things. If you have a solid 5 things, you can make a living just doing those same 5 things over and over again. Restaurants, birthday parties, weddings, company parties, all of these things you can do just knowing 5 magic tricks.
Sorry, Michael, is that still saying, like, as if you were doing strolling magic?
Oh yeah.
Just strolling, okay.
Just strolling. I'm just talking strolling. Just the other day I did a grad night for a high school, and I was there for 3 hours. There was, I don't know, maybe 250 kids there. And, I just got a small group of like 10 people, did sponge balls, Chinese linking rings, and a card trick. The whole set lasted maybe 7 to 10 minutes. They loved it. I thanked them so much. I walked over to the next group and did the exact same set again for the next group, and I just did that all night.
Wow.
And that's all you need to do, And then, like I said, if you have people come up and they want to see more, then you have a couple card tricks maybe that you could show them. So just five things. That's all you need.
5. Okay, you were saying the rings. That's the one of your popular ones that you do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the card trick you were saying, and the sponge ball routine, and maybe or 2 more then.
Yeah.
So if I was to do one single card trick, let's say the ambitious card,
which is what I
basic
do.
Sponge, basic sponge ball routine. I'm still working on other material though, but if I was to I'm hoping to do something with money, some coin magic. And then, does all the 5 tricks have to be different type of objects, if you know what I mean?
No, there are a lot of magicians that just do cards, and that's it. Excuse me, sorry.
No problem.
I try to do other things because though I enjoy doing card magic, I feel like introducing interesting props kind of draws people in a little bit more. Like, I don't like to open with a card trick. I actually do my card trick last. And the reason for that is if I say, hey, I'm a magician, you want to see something? I take out a deck of cards. The first thing that the spectator's thinking is, oh, I've seen this before. They don't even know what you're going to do, but they already think, oh, it's a card trick. Like, I saw this really funny meme. I'll try to see if I can find it, and I'll post a picture of it right here. But there's this really funny meme that I saw where it was a magician pointing to card trick plots. And it had, like, every card trick plot listed. There was, like, 50 different ones, like Oil on Water, Ambitious Card, Card to Pocket, Triumph, all of these things. And then on this side, it was the layman, and they were pointing to it, and it just said, card trick.
Oh, yeah.
You've probably seen
I get it.
And that's honestly what they see. Now, I pull out a purse that's missing the bag, and it's just a little invisible purse, and I say, does anyone know what this is? And people are looking at it, and they're like, what is that? Like, it looks like a purse, but it's missing the bag. It draws them in. It gets their attention. Same thing with the rings. You pull out the rings, and some people might say, oh, yeah, I've seen the rings before, but a lot of people haven't. They'll just be like, oh, what's he going to do with the rings? It's just more of an attention thing. Which means if you're only going to do cards, let's just say you don't want to do anything else, you just want to do card magic, your opening act needs to be something that gets their attention. Like, you shouldn't just come out with, here, go ahead and pick a card. Like, you shouldn't do that for your opening piece if you're just doing card magic. That's why I like a lot of blank deck routines. Because my opener, let's just say I'm just doing cards, my opener is, hey guys, I have a really special deck of cards here. Who can tell me why? And I take out the blank deck. Because what that's done is created focus on the deck now. And they can't say, oh, I've seen this one before, unless they've seen blank cards before. But it's not just a card trick at this point. It's interesting because the cards are all blank, right? So that's why I use different objects. But you don't have to. I mean, you can just do cards if you really wanted to. I know a lot of people that just do magic with cards and that's it. It's all personal preference.
Yeah, that's very true. No, I really do want to venture out and have different types of objects. I don't want to be just known as someone that does lots of card tricks, as cool as they are, and we love performing with card magic. I absolutely love sponge ball magic. There's some guys out there that really doesn't like sponge ball magic. I really don't know how they don't. It's absolutely so much fun. It's great for obviously children as well, but so much for the adults as well. They love it.
Well, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and again, if you want to see more content just like it, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. Until next time, keep practicing.